This week, we are going to look at social and emotional development in infancy. So, the first thing I want to do is talk about what is emotions or what is emotion. So, the big thing you need to think of, especially when dealing with little ones, is that it's a very complex experience. It's physiological, it's conscious experience. So, kind of like the feeling of it, the thinking of it, as well as the behavioral expression. Here's a funny story. My husband used to always joke when my young boys would fuss, and he's like, I don't see any tears. But the funny thing is, if you watch a young 2-year-old have a temper tantrum, you will see them work themselves into the full experience. They will eventually start crying because of the fact that they might be stomping their feet and whatever their temper tantrum looks like, and then they're thinking about what's going on, and eventually their body does physically arouse, so they start crying or they start actually having tears produced because of those things being so connected. So another thing that is something that's interesting is the whole development of the emotional regulation. So this is when babies are able to soothe themselves or inhibit their emotional outbursts. Some things that they might do is cuddle with a stuffed animal or a blankie. They might suck their pacifier or their thumbs, things like that. All of those are self-soothing things to help kind of minimize those emotional experiences. Affect or connection in the parent and child relationship. This is an interesting thing to watch. The way that parents and kids relate to each other, a lot of it is basically social cues. So this whole idea of social referencing, you can tell what kind of a relationship that a young child has with a parent by them seeking out cues from their parent on how to react to a new situation. So if it's an unfamiliar sound or an unfamiliar person, and the parent is able to, encourage and soothe them that it's okay, that is, that's them checking in and making sure mom or dad, if they do that social referencing, they have a firm attachment where they know they can trust that that parent's going to give them the cues on how to react to that. And you'll see, I always talk about how parent-child relationships are very much mutually regulated. Both of them are participating in it. So what baby does influences what parent does, and what parent does influences what baby does. You've got a bidirectional interchange. They're going back and forth. And it's very interesting just to kind of watch how all of this plays out. Crying is not only a form of communication, it does also, or it can also communicate emotion. When I say it's, they're born with it, they have that communication skill when they're born, they can use crying to signal needs. It's very interesting. If you are a parent, you'll figure out very quickly that babies have different cries. They have different cries that signify different needs. They may be looking to just get cuddled or attention or comforted or angry. This is often a more, I would say, purposeful or frustrated cry. And there is much more control in it. It can almost be a manipulated cry, like I cry when I want to, and I'm trying to signify that I am not happy about something. And the pain cry is unmistakable. It's usually a huge gasp of air and then a blood-curdling type scream that that they're actually physically hurt when you hear this, and then you're waiting for it, wait for it. Every last bit of air that they can get from the environment, and then the wail. And the interesting thing also is that you can usually, as a new mom, for me, I noticed that I was on high alert response anytime I heard a baby's cry. But very quickly I figured out that, there's a sound and there's a different type of cry that my child does. So I can differentiate not only between the my child and another baby, as well as the different types of cry, like what they needed, what they wanted. There is this whole idea of controversy of not to respond or not. This is the whole verbalizing or the, let them cry it out, that sort of thing. One thing I can tell you is that if a child is signaling a need, you're definitely wanting to respond to that need because it has long-lasting impacts on attachment and their sense of trust with you as a parent. There is also, like I said, that secure attachment. You cannot, you have to do it. You have to respond because you are basically showing them that if you have a need, it will be taken care of. If you're inconsistent or you don't do it at all, sometimes the child's not going to have a healthy, secure attachment. Babies are not born with a sense of self. It is something that develops. They actually are taking in everything that is going on around them, and they are trying to figure out who they are as a person. So each experience that they have is going to be them adding this into a tally, if you will, and they're trying to figure out who it is that they are. So they're constructing who they are as a person.